Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me as always, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Que se passe-t-il, Trevor?
Oh, that's what you were typing to and then listening to in your headphones before we started recording?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing a what is going on, Trevor? But I decided to go for a bit more classy and go for a que se passe-t-il, which means what's going on in French.
Sure. Yes, as alluded to by Cameron, today's episode is going to be all about the very, very French game, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Both Cameron and I finished it ahead of last week's episode, but last week, because we did the Thunderbolts Spoilercast, it was like, well, we've got plenty to talk about on that show. So we kind of let our thoughts on Clair Obscur simmer a little bit, and we're doing, as always, we're going to do our spoiler-free impressions first, and then we'll dive into kind of full spoilers on this game. And this is definitely one of those games that, like, if you haven't already been spoiled by the internet on this game, you might want to go in, as spoiler-free as you can. So, before we hop into that, if you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So, Cameron, you finished it a little bit before I did, a day or so before I did last week. A couple questions for you kind of while we're in this spoiler-free section. Obviously, what are your thoughts on it? All that stuff. But then, have you gone back to the game since finishing it, or have you kind of moved on to other things in this last week?
I moved on to the point where, like, I actually uninstalled it.
Okay.
That's more of a statement about, like, I have games I've been trying to download and I'm trying to, like, get ready for.
It's memory management.
Yeah, memory management more than anything else. But also, like, I put a definitive end to it. Like, it's a game that, like, I can totally see why people are like, hey, I want to go back to it again. I want to do a new game plus. I want to plat it. I want to unlock all the achievements, etc. I'm not one of those people generally, to a point where, like, I have games I love that, like, I don't care if I platinum or not.
Sure.
The exception to that was, like, Elden Ring, but that's just because I, wanted to play more of that.
This being, and obviously this will be a big chunk of our conversation around this game, this having so many Elden Ring style, or not Elden Ring, Soulsborne-like and kind of FromSoft-like elements to it, mechanics to it, I thought you might try and do that and be like, let me see if I can, master the parry timing and take out these big bad, super hard bosses and stuff like that. So I thought you might go down that route, knowing that you're somebody who has platinumed Elden Ring and Lies of P.
Yeah, I think that comes from a lot of, like, here's the thing, could I have been that for this game? Yes. And unfortunately, the reason why I'm not is spoilerish. So, or not spoilers, very much spoilers. Mm-hmm. So I'll hold off on that until we get into that section. But what I will say is...
I mean, like, in a spoiler-free sense, the story and kind of the twists and turns that the story takes for you and kind of the ultimate conclusion of the story have kind of driven you away from it a little bit. And you didn't really feel like kind of pursuing it past that point.
There is so much to do at, like, when you're at the end game. And I was at a point story-wise where I was like, I think I'm just good to finish it. And that's not to say that it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just where I was at with it.
Sure. It definitely has that. We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago when we did kind of our early impressions on it. It draws from a lot of, like, other, RPGs and stuff like that over the years. And it has kind of that, like, Final Fantasy vibe of, okay, you've unlocked, you can go and do, like, the final battle now, you can go head to the final place, but also here's a bajillion, like, side things you can do at the very end if you want. And you were kind of like, I'm just going to go ahead and mainline it now.
I was starting to do the side things, and then I kind of, like, just realized that if I committed to doing the side things, I was not going to be done with the game. And I really wanted to know where I would end up feeling about the game's story. I wanted to know that before I spent any more time with the game. And so I was conflicted because, like, I do enjoy, like, there's so much about this game that I love and enjoy, especially when it comes to mechanics, combat, exploration, all of that, was in conflict with my desperate need to know how the story ended.
Okay.
And so that's where I was at. And then when I came time to beat the game, I was like, this is where I'm at with it. I think I'm okay closing this book for now, like closing the story for now and just being like, it's great. It's great. and we'll get further into it here, but there is a feeling that I have about this game that I am very much of two minds and two hearts on, and anything about that is very spoilerish. But what I will say, my overall impression of this game, and really my overall, and I'll let you know my score right up front. My score on this game, this is between an 8.5 and a 9 for me. If I'm being completely honest, without sort of my deep personal feelings on it, I would say this is absolutely a 9 out of 10 game. I think it gets point stocked because, especially if you're not playing it on a console with locked frame rate, your mileage can vary when it comes to the counters and reaction stuff on PC. I had to go into my refresh rate and fine tune it so that I didn't, and also rework a few things so I didn't end up getting some stutters, because sometimes when a lot of graphical elements are popping up, my graphics card, it's a good graphics card. I would say it's a great graphics card. It's not a phenomenal graphics card. So a lot of elements I was getting some stuttering, and so I tweaked it a little bit, not to really degrade the graphics or anything on it, but I did enough on it to tweak it and fix my refresh rate, basically set my refresh rate, set my frame rate to kind of tweak it a little bit so I didn't have those interruptions. And after that, I was doing much better about countering in this game. So that's one thing.
It's always been a joke, and I'm game wherever you want to game. But in my older age, I am very much becoming the Greg Miller kind of school of thought of PC gaming is far too stupid.
It definitely, this was one of the times where I was I saw the emote from the Kind of Funny Games Twitch chat from the PC gaming Greg Miller laughing face. I saw that in my mind as I was trying to fix this and make sure I was doing better, because I was I can't be this bad at it, right? I can't be this bad at it. I'm doing the parrying at the right times. I'm doing this right. And I'm watching videos and no, I'm doing it at the right time. I'm people are oh yeah, a trick on this boss is when it swings and its arm gets to here, that's doing it. I was well, I'm doing that. What's wrong? And I'm maybe I am good. Maybe I don't need to get good. Maybe I need to fix my settings. And fixing my settings actually helped. And I was okay. It didn't turn me into a parry god or anything, but it definitely made that feeling of frustration of why isn't this working? Mm-hmm. And when it's working, I can now see where my faults are at with the parrying system. And of course, with new enemies that pop up, and that's another thing too, is new enemies having new attack patterns. If you are not, it can really ruin your flow.
Sure.
It can really ruin your time. It can be a bad time. Especially later on in the game where there's really strong regular enemies. Mm-hmm. It can give you a bad time. And so when I looked at that, I'm balance wise, as far as enemies and its combat and its, but also if you're a leisure RPG player, you want to, even if you're a more active RPG player, with an active battle system, the Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth, and that's actually enough for you. There's still some leeway and some passive time and that, and that does not exist in this game. It's very much boom, 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 dude. And the music's going at a rate, and the beats are going. BPM is pretty high on it, and it's great. But that's the thing too. I could not say this is a 10 out of 10 game because I can't recommend this game to just about anybody. I can't recommend this game to just every single person. I look at this game and I think a 10 out of 10 needs to.
I mean, we have different impressions then of what a 10 out of 10 has to be.
And it doesn't have to be.
I don't think a 10 out of 10 you would say Elden Ring is a 10 out of 10 game, but you also would know, hey, this is not a game for Trevor.
Oh yeah, no,
even
for
though
sure.
I put a ton of time into it. Yeah.
But yeah, my mileage varied on when it comes to, because there are days where it's I'm I can't play this until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on a weekend because my reaction time has dwindled. And I'm not doing well.
I definitely encountered that when I was when I'd get sleepy and groggy eye and my eyes would be a little blurry and be I definitely need to switch from parrying to the more forgiving dodge timing for this right now, and to just let the fight take a little bit longer and then call it a night.
Yeah. I for me that was just a thing. I was I just can't do that, especially because that's another thing too. It's there's accessibility is accessibility rocks. Something that I saw with some Doom Dark Ages preview stuff, a lot of people were talking about the variety of customization of difficulty with that game.
Sure.
And its approachability. And I'm like, I love that. More games should have that. I've been an advocate for Souls games having difficulty moderations. And I wrote a piece on thatnerdysite.com about like the different ways you can go about it. It doesn't just have to be a difficulty setting. You can get into the minutia of that and really tailor that towards a more custom experience that's still challenging for people, but is also approachable. Especially to a point with with people with disabilities. Like I think if there's one thing The Last of Us Part 2 proved to me, it's that, oh goddamn, you can really make a game for anybody. With the accessibility options when it comes to sight and hearing in that game. Like one of the reasons why I think that game is like a technical masterpiece, even if I'm like not the biggest fan of its story, that game to me is like an absolute technical masterpiece because of all these in part because of all these options for, changing up difficulty to like for regular players, but also for disabled players as well. So I look at that and like a 10 out of 10 game doesn't need to be those things. It doesn't need to be, that. But for me, like my approach to it is I can't play this game with one hand while I'm eating something or drinking something. Like,
sure.
The impact of like and that's another thing too, is like game reviews these days, especially, is like your mileage is going to vary no matter what. But for me, that's why this game doesn't, that's why I'd be like, this game's a 9.5 out of 5. 9.5 out of 10.
That's a really good score.
Yeah,
9.5 out of 5.
Yeah, this is the greatest game of all time. This is a 9.
That's some Meltzer in the Tokyo Dome level shit.
First off, I love that you know that reference.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Omega versus Okada, first 6-star match ever. And actually is my favorite match of all time as well. It's a phenomenal match. 60-minute draw.
Anyway.
To the point though, like this game has other weaknesses. I think just there are like little bits here and there, that are kind of like little hiccups or little like oh, that happened. I like, especially like exploration stuff. Like the fact that it doesn't have a mini map doesn't bother me. The fact that like there are better visual indications to let people know whether or not they're on the right track or not. And sometimes like this game does not have a lot of going off the main road or a lot of like veering off to the side of things. Mm-hmm. And like there's often times where like they do have, and that's another thing too, they have a lot of areas that have good visuals that tell you, hey, this is a side area. I'm thinking about in the floating, not floating gardens, it's the area where it's like you're under the sea, like all the crustacean stuff and everything, but it's in like not under the sea.
Yeah.
There's an area where you can fight an optional boss that is like tucked away behind seaweed in like a dark cavern. Like that to me immediately says this is a side area.
Yeah, I mean there is a visual language in the game that is like lamps light the way. Playing into the whole Clair Obscur being the like contrast between light and dark as obviously there are that is very indicative of the game's themes and all that stuff. But yeah, the kind of the golden path is usually like if you look up or if you look somewhere in the area and you see lamps, you're probably going in the right direction.
For sure.
Now, of course, that doesn't help if you get turned around and then start going back and following the lamps, because you are then being like, oh shit, I have been this way. This looks familiar. I'll like it was one of those things like I thought about early on in terms of like ultimately I don't think the game should have a mini map or anything like that because it goes against the whole point of these expeditions and like
for sure
this unsurveyed land kind of whatever. It also didn't bother me too much because none of the levels are drastically huge or anything like that. Where you're like, oh, if you go down the wrong path, you can right yourself and correct yourself in about a minute. Like I'm saying, this is why it's like it's more of like a nitpicky kind of.
It's thing. A nitpicky thing. There's a handful of nitpicky things that I think brings us down this game back, like holds it back a little bit. But like nothing about this game is like a major offense. Nothing about this game is terrible. Like it's a great indie, like it's one of the best indie games you could possibly be playing right now. Granted, how it qualifies, like it qualifies as an indie because it's an independent game. But when you're looking at the size and scope of this game, it's very much like not what you consider an indie title. Indies don't have to be pixelated games, but this game definitely has like a lot of
Baldur's Gate 3. Still an indie
Still
game.
an indie game, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of, and that's the thing about the Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's like definitely a lot of time, money, and effort was put into this game. I think it paid off brilliantly, and that's really what matters in the end. If that investment was like paid off, and I think it would. I think it passed 2 million units already.
Yeah.
And that's just sold. That's not Game Pass units either.
Yep.
Which says a lot. Like that's Steam and PlayStation.
And the people who are actually buying it
Yeah.
on their Xbox instead
Yeah.
of Game Pass. Yeah.
So like that tells you all you need to know about that right there. Like as somebody who you bought it for PlayStation,
Yep.
I got it on Game Pass, of course. So right there, you are one of those 2 million people. I'm not. I'm one of the millions of people who downloaded this game. So like, however the money works out on that aspect of it, great on them. For this to be their freshman date, like their debut project, their freshman project, knocking that out of the park like this, like I can't speak highly enough of that. I would say if you even like RPGs a little bit, I think this is a fantastic game. If you are like the approach of dodge and parry mechanics, that's where your mileage is also going to vary a little bit. That's also part of the like. This isn't really a nitpicky part so much as it's a like you can't walk.
It is an essential part of.
It is
game.
an essential part of the game.
You
it
can't
is a
just
core
like not
game
do
mechanic.
that stuff. I mean, you can. You're going to lose every battle.
Yeah. It is a core central part of how this game operates, and you need to adapt to that and get good at it. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time with this game.
I want to avoid the get good meme.
Sorry.
Because like as somebody, I played it on story.
Improve.
And yeah, I'm never the dodge and parry guy, but I found myself throughout the game on the story difficulty, which is the easiest and most forgiving, more often than not, successfully hitting the parry.
sure.
Like there would be, those times where, oh, it's a new enemy. I got to figure out what this new pattern is. Oh, I messed up the timing there. I do appreciate that the dodge timing is like more forgiving, and you know that you've got the timing right if you get the perfect dodge instead of just the dodge.
Mm-hmm.
That perfect dodge equates to that's the timing you need for the parry. So I like playing it on the difficulty I was playing on. I clicked right into kind of the timing of things pretty quickly.
What I meant when I said get good, I meant not in the get good gamer. I meant in the what that's supposed to mean, which is learning patterns, finding your way through, educating yourself about the game as you're playing it. Especially with these mechanics, like learning about different parrying timings and stuff like that. Learning your enemies' like ticks and patterns and how they operate, so you know what kind of attack is coming.
Yeah.
Like there's a great example of that is these double sword enemies that depending on how long they're charging their attack before they hit you, tells you what your timing for that parry or dodge is going to be.
Yeah.
So when I said forgive me, I did not mean in the derogatory sense of get good. I meant it in the positive educational sense.
Yeah. In that vein, or on that topic, I will say one of my little dings against the game, and I'll give my like bigger impressions in a bit, is the game is usually very good at saying, here's what this enemy is doing.
Yes.
And so even if you can't like visually, tell just from a sense, you can see from the little text, this enemy is coming in for a long combo or a quick attack or something like that. You can kind of get a feel for what is happening there. The problem is sometimes if you have a lot going on in the game, in the combat, that text gets overwritten by other things that are text. Like one of the characters can use this lightning attack and it'll be like lightning attack triggered, and you'll see that line when you would normally see the line saying what the enemy is going to do, and so you don't actually get the line what the enemy is going to do, and you do have to just go off visually and stuff like that. So I think there are some weak mechanical elements like that, where it's like it's not consistent in how that information is relayed to the player.
100%, yeah.
That is like there, it's like that, and honestly, like one of my other biggest gripes of this game is I hate that there's no like auto advance in the text and the dialogue and stuff like that. I hate that you have to press X or A or whatever the button is every time, and it's like one line of text on the screen at a time. So if you're having like a big long conversation with your characters, you are just kind of having to constantly check in and push. Which if I'm a little checked out and I'm checking Blue Sky or something like that during a scene, I'm like, I want to just hear the story going on while I check a tweet or something like that, or a skeet. And I have to be like clocked in. So it's like, I would much rather many games, many RPGs have that option, especially like having just gone back and replayed Fire Emblem. Like, yeah, you can have the auto advance option playing, and it's just the lines of dialogue happen, and then the scenes end kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's like minor things like that feel like the missteps of a first time developer team kind of thing like that, or the things that like nobody else kind of jumped in was like, hey, what if we threw this in as an option? Or did we catch this? Have we thought about how these systems work together? I mean, the fact that they've already come out this last week and like done some balancing to kind of fix some very broken builds. Like, I think they're going to continue to give this game a little bit of support. And
absolutely.
They're teasing the idea of DLC and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some minor quibbles I had with it there. Before I dive into more of my thoughts, did you have anything else you wanted to kind of throw out there?
Yeah, I will say, actually, that's a little bit of a spoiler, so I'm going to hold it. But yeah, my review on this is I'm going to go ahead and just call this a 9 out of 10 for me. Mm-hmm. Be a little bit more on the positive side of things. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. I think it's a fantastic game, well worth your time and effort in playing it. I'll get into like where I'm at, kind of like in why I'm of two minds and two hearts in the spoiler section. But if you are on the fence on this game, I'd say hop over that fence, dip your feet into it, see if this game is for you, especially if you have it on Game Pass, like available on Game Pass for you.
I mean, also, if you're one of those people that's like, fuck $80 games, this being a $50 game is also a great, like, it's, I mean, this is definitely a, like, speak with your wallet in that sense, like support a game like this to show the industry, hey, these games of this size and scale are absolutely viable. Cool. My thoughts overall, I'll kind of say up front, I think I'm probably sitting at a 9.5 in terms of the score for the game. Amazing, not quite phenomenal, which would be our 10 out of 10 because of some of those like minor things. And yeah, I think there is an element there of, I'm probably not going to go back and replay this game a ton in the way that I do some, RPGs and turn-based stuff that I like, because there are, especially like in recent years, if you pick up, the classic Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy IX or something like that on a modern system or Steam or something like that, they've added in like, hey, here's like a, double speed or a triple speed kind of setting that you can kind of turn on. Here's like some auto grind things. You can make the, the more repetitive gameplay a little bit more user friendly. And this, because it is, oh no, you have to always be actively playing. Even if you are playing on the easiest difficulty, you always have to be dodging and parrying in combat and kind of doing those pieces of it. That does make it a more I need to be more tuned in and focused on this game than I would want to be in like a replay. That said, I have jumped in particular because we finished the game a week ago and I wanted to be a little bit more like refreshed. I did jump in and kind of like start a New Game Plus run about halfway through like part 1 again, act 1. So kind of enjoying that element. Just to kind of get back in the field of it. And if you're not familiar, New Game Plus is basically like, you carry over your weapons and your pictos, and that's about it. And your levels. Like, so all your characters, all your characters are unlocked from the jump, basically, when you leave Lumiere. And then enemies have much bigger health pools, but they're using the same abilities, they're using the same attacks. So you now, having played, spent 40, 50 hours with the game before and knowing the patterns and stuff like that, much easier to parry. You can still usually knock those enemies out fairly quickly, even with their heftier health pool size, to make up for the fact that you're doing shit tons of damage now in a New Game Plus when all your characters are in the level 70s and stuff like that. I'm enjoying that element of it, and just kind of like, because for me, the combat is great. I really, as somebody who does not like the dodge and parry stuff, maybe if I was playing on Expeditioner or harder difficulty or something like that, it would be more frustrating and I would be walking away from it. But they gave me a story difficulty And that's usually all I need, is a little bit more forgiving option. I love the Star Wars Jedi games because they give me options that I can kind of meet at my level. I'm not interested in having to be so precise, especially, being the like 40-year-old gamer now and knowing that my reflexes aren't as tight as they used to be. And I can't blame it on, graphical settings on a PC or something like that. I really, really like the mechanics of this, of the game and the combat. I love the way you can mix and match your Pictos, and then like once you've unlocked the Picto, you can use your Lumina points to basically just stack up on Pictos. In New Game Plus, I'm loving that like when you come across like a health tint, it's just another health tint. So like if I had 5, from my first game, those all carried over, and now I have like 7 or 8 because I've found new ones in the map, the revive tints, the chroma elixirs and stuff like that. The resources that you'll use in combat are just kind of like piling up there. So lots of fun. I really love the story and the characters of this game. I'll be curious when we get into the spoiler-filled stuff, because the vibe I've gotten from you was that you did not like the twists and turns that the story takes later in the game, whereas I was all here for them. I really enjoyed it. It did the opposite for me of Final Fantasy 16 a few years ago, where like that was a game where neither of us were huge fans of how that game ended, and it took like a 10 out of 10 story and kind of dropped it down to like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for us, I think. For me, when the game starts really kind of like unveiling its secrets and kind of the what's really going on here, I was like, oh, okay, that makes way more sense. And now I'm viewing this game in a different light because of the new scope it has provided for me. And I really like that. And we'll obviously talk much more about that in the spoiler-filled stuff. So yeah, I was really on board for a lot of that element. And I thought it was very bold in the swings that it takes from a story perspective. So yeah, I love that. Performances are great across the board. As we touched on, like for a, arguably like a AA team, this, looks incredible, has a lot of great spectacle behind it. And it also has a lot of fun, like little customizability and stuff. The different costumes and hairstyles and stuff you can unlock for your characters. So you can just have them run around, or just, be in these very dramatic cutscenes with their berets and their big old sunglasses and the baguette attire and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, this is fun and silly where it should be. The writing, especially with some of the later game characters, very fun. I think it does a great job hitting you with the like emotional beats when it wants to, but also giving you plenty of levity and plenty of joy and humor to the game as well. So it does a great job kind of hitting all the beats that it wants to, and the music is a superb standout. And then like finding out as I'm humming the Lumiere theme and dun dun da 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 dun dun da 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 dun, like having that just in my head for the last couple weeks, and then seeing the stories come out of like, yeah, that was the guy they found on SoundCloud, and they were like, hey, you want to make music for our game? Is like, that's awesome. So much cool behind the scenesy stuff to this game that I think kind of helps it break the mold from where other things maybe get overproduced or over complicated.
In an era with bloated AAA games, this AA is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and the thing I'll say, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in like maybe the spoiler-filled stuff. Like, I fought one of those optional bosses, and I got into that fight, and it was probably a good hour that I was in the fight, and just kind of like hanging on by the skin of my teeth the entire time, but winning was the closest I've ever felt to. This is what people who fight millennia in Elden Ring feel like. Like this is why they chase that high.
Yes.
And I think for me, the reason this game clicks when that one doesn't is because I can kind of control my own pace for it. It does give me a breather when it is my turn to act in combat.
Yep.
And I can kind of think strategically, what do I want to do here? Let me like shake out my hands because I had to parry 7 things in a row right there. I need to find a beat to kind of recoup and not always just be on the back foot. So I like the merging of the JRPG turn-based stuff with that action combat really clicked for me in a way that it's been fascinating seeing like friends who don't usually click with the JRPG things really liking this game because of the action combat sucking them in. So I like that it works both ways. I think that is a real cool testament to this game and the way that people are approaching it. I also want to shout out James Stephanie Sterling and the Jimquisition did a couple episodes on this game kind of back to back. One where they talked about like they were really struggling with it and could not get the timing right as being somebody who loves the Soulsborne kind of genre and stuff like that. And so they made a whole video about wanting kind of a proof of concept demo available to everybody for games like this, where it's like, hey, if you play the opening sequence of this game and the timing isn't working for you, you didn't just waste $50 on a game that you're not actually going to be able to play. And then they significantly improved in their timing, and something clicked for them in the week that followed, and they fell head over heels in love with the game and kind of did a follow-up video on that. And so I love seeing stories like that of like it is that whole get good meme, but done in a like the game, because the game does give you the like, hey, and the game will repeatedly remind you of this in like the loading screens and stuff like that. If the parry timing isn't working for you, try dodging and getting a feel for that and getting used to that timing. I also like that if you do fail in combat, it's not the end of the world. It's basically, okay, the game saved right before the fight or something, so you can basically just go right back into it and try again. There's no punishment in the way of like you lost all your souls or something like that. So I think this game is forgiving and approachable in all the right ways for me for that kind of combat approach. And yeah, like I think the performances are standout, the music, the art direction, the enemy design and the combat mechanics and all that stuff. Like the game does kind of introduce a few extra combat mechanics after the beginning bit. And I came in after I got like the last one, was like, they're not going to throw any more at me because you were ahead of me at the game. I was like, it's already tough enough for me to remember this kind of dodge and this kind of dodge. And, oh, I've got to do this with that, icon. So.
And let you're good.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, it was like it introduced it piecemeal enough that it was like, yep, okay, this is the last one, you're good now, and kind of all that stuff. So yeah, just lots of fun, and especially in kind of the different combinations you can find, and like, I mean, there's a character I almost never used in the entire kind of run of the game, because
don't you say it was Monoko?
No. Okay. I use Monoko quite a bit. Looking back, I hadn't been keeping track of the blue mage kind of abilities that Monoko gets, but looking back at my New Game Plus thing, I'm only missing like 5. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to figure out which ones I need to go and fight to
gotta find those grippers
to finish out kind of and get that trophy or whatever. But yeah, no, CL is the character that I like almost never use, but then I like go and like online and find like here's a really broken build for if you use CL, and it's just like, oh, that's cool, but it is that JRPG thing of she was the 4th character introduced and you only have a party of 3. So it's like, well, I know these 3 characters really, really well. And I have my rhythm for these 3 characters, and every character is different in these games. It's not like some of the more modern Final Fantasies where it is like, oh yeah, you can just kind of spec all those characters to be, identical. This is, the abilities are unique character to character. There's very little in the way of crossover or anything like that. So like it just suffers from, hey, this 4th character has come along, and then yeah, a 5th character comes along, and it's like, all right, I'm going to be much less likely to use you because I already have like my routine and my feel. And so I didn't experiment with those as much as maybe I could have. And so maybe that's something I'll do a little bit with in like a New Game Plus run while I'm waiting for like a new game to come and kind of grab my attention away. But yeah, I think those are kind of my biggest, pain points of the game, is that it'll be hard because of how much energy and effort you have to pour into this game. It'll be hard to like really revisit with any kind of like regularity. Yeah, I think that's all I have in terms of spoiler-free stuff. So let's go ahead. I'll throw the timestamp out here. Last chance to duck away, because there is absolutely plenty of stuff to talk about spoiler-wise on this game. So if you are not interested, thank you for tuning in for the first half of this episode, and stay tuned. Come back next week for whatever we're going to talk about next week. But yeah, with that last warning, Cameron, where do you want to take the spoiler conversation first? Because I think there's some big story beats in particular. Like the game does the biggest swings with its like act breaks, where it's like it ends every act with like a holy shit moment.
Yep.
Even starting like the prologue, like is a very visually impressive, even though you kind of know where it's going and where we're heading for it. Like it's like brutal. Oh shit. There's a lot of like, whoa, they went there. Okay.
It's painful. They like you spend all that time. Hey, you should talk to people. Talk to all these people. Cool. Now watch all of them fucking die.
Yeah. But in a very pretty way.
In a gorgeous, beautiful way. But when the mom turns into dust and roses in her, and you see the daughter holding the hand and then clasping where the mom's hand was, breaks my heart. Yeah. The boys, the two boys holding each other, covering their eyes, trying not to look as their parents dissipate around. Like, it's horrifying.
Yeah. Whereas one of the things I appreciated having more the full context of on my immediate New Game Plus is Mael talking to Gustav in the opening sequence, and Mael says something like, well, you should give it to her before it withers and dies. And Gustav says something like, you mean the rose or Sophie? And Mael's like, wow, dark.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no.
And at the time I was like, I don't really, okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what this afternoon with Sophie's going to be.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be without her, and he thinks she needs somebody by her side. Mm-hmm. And she does. Could she have done it on her own? Absolutely. But I think it was so important for Gustav and Sophie to get there. I think I'm going to put this out here, and let's start this off, because this is where I'm of my two minds and two hearts. If you, like, they absolutely land the plane. I think they do what Final Fantasy 16 failed to do, which was land that plane for you. Emotionally, mentally, story-wise. Like, they land the plane in a succinct way, regardless of... Actually, I guess that's actually how we should probably start it. What ending did you choose?
Sure, yeah.
Who did you choose?
I fought as Mael at the ending.
I chose as Verso.
Knowing full well that I'm making the wrong choice for like healthy grieving. I absolutely love that. Ultimately, we find out that this is very much like a story about grief and this family grieving the loss of their son. And like the whole world that we've been playing in is like an artistic creation of Verso's that has been like kept alive by his family after his untimely passing. And so like
it's his only painting. It's the only thing that he ever painted and put a part of himself into.
Yeah.
To bring it to life. He does no other paintings.
So yeah, I love that like that ends up being the like, oh, like the villains and the all the antagonists that we've had throughout this game are like, they're villains in that they're fighting each other and basically don't view the creations and the characters we're playing as anything, because we're not. We're figures in a painting. We are a pure fiction to those real people, kind of thing. And so I loved that reveal, and then the Mael reveal of like, oh, she's the daughter, born again here in this painting. And yeah, I chose to fight as Mael because I was like, just give me a little bit more time. Like playing with these people. Have you looked and seen like what
I have
the Mael ending is?
Yeah, I know what the
Verso
Mael
ending?
ending is.
Yeah. So the Mael ending, for anybody that doesn't know, is like, it's this is very unhealthy. It's because Mael basically has become the new painter, and can use the power to its full extent after Renoir is out of the painting, and so she uses her power to bring back Gustave and Sophie, to bring back Pierre, Ciel's husband, and basically like you have this like moment of all of these characters coming into the opera house and like celebrating, and Verso is going to sit down at the piano and play, a beautiful orchestration for everybody, and Verso, being kind of the one who knows that this is all a fiction, like looks out at because Mael even has like the illusion is like Mael has a daughter now, and
no, so that's the boy. That is the piece of Verso's soul.
Okay.
The little boy in the sailor outfit.
I did not catch that was who that was supposed to be. Got it.
Okay. That's he's the same height, same outfit that he was wearing.
Gotcha.
And looks like a young Verso.
Yeah.
Also, this Verso is aged. She has changed it to allow this Verso to be his age, like be close to his age anyway. He's over 100 years old, but being close to his age.
White hair. He's got white hair.
His hands are.
And also, like,
more
I mean, he even says in one of his like little side story scenes, like he dyes his hair black.
Yes, he does.
Like he's had white hair in the in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then he looks out like and can see the image and the facade break, and sees kind of the corruption around Mael's eyes,
the distortion,
suggesting that she's been in this painting too long, and it's poisoning her like it did the mother.
Yep. Her the area around her eyes now looks like the paintress's face.
Yeah.
So she's not at the level that her mother was at yet, but it's bad, and she's going to get there.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be anybody that can stop her.
Yep. Nobody's pulling her out. So yeah, like knowing that I was making the wrong call, I still went and made the wrong call. I thought I was going to be able to like reload the save and then choose again kind of thing. And I was like, no, when you reload the game, like you can still go do everything in without having to jump into New Game Plus. Like the world is still completely open to you, but yeah, there's no final fight to do anymore there. It's like, okay, go do the things you didn't do already, or start a New Game Plus run. So talk about the Verso ending.
The Verso ending is like that cathartic ending that they like. That's the quote unquote good ending. But it is basically Verso beats Mael and forces her out of the painting. Goes to little Verso, hid the piece of his soul, and tells him to stop painting, and basically allows this last piece of Verso's soul to dissipate. And in doing so, is confronted by Ciel and Lune. And Ciel understands she was ready to die already, and is willing to go. Monaco and oh crap, I forgot his name. Esquier hug each other to say goodbye. And Lune just is pissed off at Verso and just sits down, cross-legged, and basically just gives him like a shit glare until she dissipates as well.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is Alicia, Claire, Antoine,
Renoir.
Renoir, and then the mother's name is
Alcine.
Alcine. They are at the real Verso's grave. And they have a moment where they have come back together as a family. Alcine and Renoir reconcile at the grave. And
Aline,
thank you. Yeah. And Alicia looks up to see in her mind's eye the visages of her friends from the thing. It's very labyrinthy, like at the end, seeing my friends before they all gommage away. And that's that. And I think it's a very good ending for the story they're telling with this. I understand, like, I have like, and I'll in a moment I'll be getting into the issues that I have with the overall storytelling in this game, and like why that twist at the end. I think it's a good twist. I think it's done well. I think they execute on it faithfully and true to their vision, and I think that's great. But yeah, that's the ending for it. There's no secret ending. There's no quote unquote true ending. There's no like best ending you can get with your choices.
It's what did you take away from this story of grief that we've told you?
Yep.
Which ending do you want to fight as?
And I think that it is an interesting note especially when you've been gathering up the journals, you have the opportunity to find a journal from Verso, like the painted Verso, his facsimile, and you hear from him that he's going to make this like, these lives are worth living. Our lives here are worth living. This is like much longer ago from before the time of the game. But at one point in time, he was of the mind that like us painted creations, like our lives are worth something. And I thought that was a very interesting takeaway from it. I think that,
yeah, I mean, from like an artistic perspective, it does kind of delve into this branch of like the eventual AI conversation of like, you know, these are the characters we've been playing as, and everybody else that lives in this world are like artificial intelligence trapped in this painting. What is that? What is their story like? They have, you know, hopes and dreams and emotions and all that kind of stuff.
But I also think that this story, the third, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of the twist, is Mael as a character goes from somebody who is struggling to accept loss and grief and come into her own into a goddess, into she becomes a paintress and the world is hers at her whim. And life and death all of a sudden don't mean the same things to her in this realm. And you know, her ending is this idea that these people are worth keeping alive, but it's also a selfish thing. Like, oh, I don't want to lose this world that I've found myself in, going back to the real world and facing my struggles and my grief and dealing with the physical disabilities that I have. I can't even speak in the real world without using my painter powers. And I like that's impactful, and I think that says a lot. That speaks to like, you know, dealing with real life and things like that. I think that is very much the like, oh, this is pure escapism for it. It's the like, you know, I'm certainly a bigger fan of the Ready Player One movie than I know a lot of people are. But I think that's like what so many people in that universe are tapping into is like, well, this is way better than my real life. So if you could go into a VR painting world like this and just kind of like live your life away in there, yeah, your real life sucks. But it only becomes that way when she becomes the god, like it becomes a god of that world.
I mean, I think
prior to that, she doesn't have the frame of reference to know that she doesn't.
She doesn't know. Yeah, but I think even prior to that, like Mael still is a like Mael pre like real Mael kind of thing. Is I think a vibrant character and a character curious about the world, and maybe that's a lot of like Alicia kind of in her. This just hasn't been awakened yet. But I think like it. I mean, it is the like she deals with the the abrupt loss of Gustav. She's dealt with the loss of parents and all like the never ending loss of people in that world, that cycle and that countdown and stuff like that. That I think there is a degree of, I mean, it opens just fun philosophical questions of like,
it does. And I think
what would you do in that situation of like, if the world out here sucks as much as it does, and it sucks a lot, and you could have this escape, where, time passes, slowly or whatever, and you can just kind of live in there forever and not, it'll eventually eat away at you, but you live in a world of your own making and your own creation, as opposed to
if you live in a world where you're God.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thing, is like Mael's character shift from, and this is the thing, it's overall a story about grief. Yes. Prior to that end of Act 2, that shift into Act 3 and the epilogue, it is also a story about legacy, about what you leave behind, about what you leave for people to take on and move forward with you. Now that plays into its endpoint, but these two themes they're not opposed to each other. They're very much side by side. But my problem with it is that I feel there is a cavernous separation between the two that make them feel like drastically different stories. And I know they play into each other. I know that like I said, this game makes it work. It does. It works. And that's why it's this high for me, because man, after that twist, I was just like, and that's part of also, it's like, and this is the problem I had with Final Fantasy 16 and other games that do this stuff, which is, oh, this stuff happened. It's like, okay, well, what was the point of me doing it then? What's the point of me doing a new game plus if nothing, like, it's all going to end up shit anyway? Like, it's very much I'm very tired of fatalist approaches to life in general. As like, as for basically my like religious background and stuff like that, there's a lot of like fatalism in how I kind of grew up in, like, well, we know how things end. So, and it's this idea that, and it also comes down to my feelings about what happens to Lune and Ciel and the other characters of the world, of the painted world, after that big reveal. They stop being friends and instead they start being more like, especially when Mael makes her choice to stay in the painting and you choose Mael, it's no longer she's living her life among her friends and they're living this life where they've gone through these challenges, they've lost people, they've lived, they've learned, they lost, they've moved forward, they're taking what, like, for those who come after, they take that moving forward. It isn't about that for her anymore. It's about the escapism. It's about the magical world she is able to build now. It's about fulfilling these things and everybody gets everything they want. And it's like, that's not what the first two acts were about.
I mean, but I would argue that is the payoff of like the legacy that Expedition 33 gets to benefit from is we've won. We can now bring people back and we can live the lives that we should have been able to live all along, but couldn't because of this cycle, because of this curse. And yeah, it's not at all, it's not real. It's not healthy for Mael, but like Lune and Ciel gets her husband back.
Sure.
We don't see if she's got, do they have their kid?
They do not have a baby at this point.
Okay.
The baby shows up in her vision of what she could have had.
Yeah.
But and I'll also say this, and this is really where it gets to the crux of my point, which is in Act 3, you're introduced to the meta world, like the world outside of the painting.
Yeah. Also going to say, like, it's also very tough to make generalizations on like what the final repercussion is of the
sure,
because we only get like a brief snippet of a scene.
Sure. But what I'll say is this, is that, and this is where I think the separation is for me, really. And at the core of it is, you've spent 2 acts telling me why I need to care about this painted world. And like, yeah, in the payoff to this is, you want to choose Mael, you want to choose this world, you want, like, it's a world with people that have lives worth living, etc. Like, that makes sense. And I understand the motivation of why they did it. For me, you spend all this time teaching me about this cool alternate world that's different than ours in a little bit. Then you introduce me to a meta world with a character named Clair, who I don't know who the fuck, like, they've been mentioned a little bit and everything, and I get that, and then we're introduced, and it's like, oh, there's deeper ties into it and everything. That's okay. Why do I need to care about Gustav anymore?
Because he was our intro character. He's Mael's adopted brother.
He's not real. And this is the problem I always run into. It's like the idea, like, I like it when it's vague and they're like, is this real or not real? Like, that's interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Definitively saying, this is fantasy, this is the real world, you got to embrace the real world. Oftentimes that falls so flat for me because guess what? The painted world, it's history, it's the gestrels,
I'm gonna throw this out to you right now, Cameron, as like the like argument against what you're saying. Do you care about Andor? He's not real. He's a character in a TV show, but we fucking love that TV show.
Here's the thing, I get that, and I know that's the argument for it, and that's true.
Gustav.
That's the thing. I care about Gustav. Like, I do care about I do care about it, but when the story, but I understand that as somebody who's as whether it's me as a fan or me as a media analyst looking at these things, I understand and enjoy these things for different reasons as a fan or media analyst. But for you to then tell, like, and this is where like my struggle comes into it is, hey, this world with people worth living and everything, guess what? That's the bad choice. Or that's the not healthy choice. Or it's like, oh, cool. Committing just wide genocide against intelligent life that deserves to live, but because you're the painter outside Renoir, you're God, and God came in and said, actually, you guys don't fucking matter, and I'm gonna murder all of you. Because it's hurting my actual family. And like, I understand his motivation, it makes sense, but you like it's I struggle to balance these people have lives worth living and that like it's the conflict of it, which is a good thing. This, by the way, what I'm saying is not a detriment. This is good about this game. This is what this game is doing that is good. I just don't like it. Mm-hmm. But also, this painted world is way more fascinating than this real world. You tease this, like, there's the war of the painters versus the writers, and the writers had a conspiracy to try to kill Alicia, but Verso found out about it and saves Alicia, but it costs him his life. I'm like, that's fascinating. But you're introducing it to me so late.
I mean, I think that's a potential, like, world building for a sequel kind of thing. Is like a future, like, because the brief snippet I get from that is, okay, the Verso and Alicia's family, they are the painters. They have this magical ability to create life in these paintings. They're having this war with the writers, so presumably they're writing novels, and like those characters are living lives in the novels too, kind of thing.
Also, fun note: Alicia spent her time in novels as a child rather than painting. That's a thing you can pick up from, and it's like, that's interesting because Clair mentions, well, you spent your time in your books.
Sure.
And it's like, damn, but you also have Verso from his aspect of when he told his parents, they're like, oh, so you, like, oh, I painted a little bit as a kid, but actually my real passion was music. And it's like,
yeah,
that's a fact. Like, here's the thing, those little instances, I'm like, that's very fascinating, and I would have loved to have seen more of that, but we don't get more of that.
I did love that, I saw that scene before going to the monolith and was like, oh, we're gonna find out the Verso's like the kid of the painter, the paintress.
Oh, I picked that up already. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had not picked it up at that point. But
when we found out that, I had a feeling like he was connected to Renoir at some point, but when we found out it's his dad, I'm like, paintress is mom, Renoir is dad, Alicia is the sister. Somehow there's a connection between Maëlle. Either she's like Alicia's daughter on some level, or she is somehow also Alicia. Like, I picked that up way early.
I picked up like the Maëlle and Alicia. I mean, they have the same character design with the exception that Alicia is scarred and burned,
and her porcelain mask and stuff,
and has the mask. Yeah. But so my curiosity at that point was like, so is that like a future version of Maëlle?
That's what I thought too.
Back in time?
I'm like, are we doing a time thing here?
Yeah.
I think I'm honest, I think I would have preferred the time thing. But at the same time, like, they do a great job of establishing this world. It's just the idea that the painted world, if the painted world was the real world, like, is the real world that you're in the entire time, that to me, and the implications of like, well, is there any more survivors out there? Was this isolated? Like, what? Like, that to me is far more interesting than what's going on outside in the meta narrative. Mm-hmm. And for you to like give us all this world and lore building to then basically be like, oh, by the way, but if you choose the good ending, that's just gone.
All right. I mean, I think part of that is like your own personal, the fact that you get too swept up in lore shit. This because
100%.
The immediate thing I'm thinking of right now is your Diablo 4 complaint about you're playing a necromancer and you meet the god of the necromancers or whatever, and he says nothing, and it
means nothing that is dead.
The fact that you were so annoyed by that, where I was like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's not that this is bad. This is still a 9 out of 10 for me, but this is what brings it down to a 9 for me.
Sure.
This is why I'm of two minds and two hearts. I think, like, as a media analyst, and this is the thing, as the media analyst, I see everything they're doing. Fantastic. What an amazing approach to it. They made it work. It makes sense. You feel for it. You enjoy it. Like, they deliver on that, every single one of those aspects. As a fan, as somebody who is just like enjoys, like as somebody who's just enjoying the art, I don't like it. I wanted the other thing. And guess what? That's okay. Like, that's okay. But those are my two minds and two hearts on these things. Is that's where I'm like, because it's like, yeah, my analyst part of me is like, c'est magnifique. Like, this is fantastic. What a great thing. And the other part of me is like, man, I really wish it would have been the other thing, but it's cool that we still got that thing, and the game's still really great. And so it's like the dichotomy between who I like of the two parts of who I am, the two wolves that live inside me, and which one will I feed?
There is a weird element going back and doing like the New Game Plus, because as I said, like once you get out of Lumiere, like you have your whole party with you. So like I'm running. Basically, you have Gustav in lieu of Verso. Verso is not in the party yet, but you have Monoko there.
That's wild. Monoko's there?
Yeah, Monoko's there. CL's there already with me, and you can obviously swap in whoever you want. So yeah, I'm running around right now with Gustav, Mael, and Monoko. There are a couple weird things where it's like, I thought, oh, maybe they're going to, like, in a New Game Plus, they'll have those abilities unlocked in Gustav, because Gustav's a level 70 character or whatever now.
They're not unlocked. They're just fake.
They are just absolute fake abilities.
They're fake. They're
fake placeholder abilities to make you think that character is going to survive longer.
Fuck, it's brilliant. It's brilliant game design. It's so good.
It's great. Yeah, I definitely just thought, like, oh, give me, like, now that I know the twist, I'm playing New Game Plus. Obviously, I know Gustav doesn't make it. Give me Verso's abilities here in Gustav's body. But nope, it's like, so I just have like 70 unused like ability points because I have everything like unlocked for him, and it's his like 10 abilities or whatever.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
And also, he doesn't have any gradient attacks, because obviously you don't pick that up until later. But you have gradient attacks starting at like out the gate in this. So yeah, it's fascinating in terms of like the choices they make for that New Game Plus option. And then like some of the other stuff is like you'll find Pictos, in the same place you found them early on in the original run, but like they were level 1, level 2, level 3 Pictos, and now they get shot up to like level 20, level 25, something like that. So it's basically like, oh, that Picto that you might have wanted to keep equipped but had shit stats compared to everything else that you get later in the game, now they're a little bit more competitive. It might be worthwhile to bring them into the mix.
I think that's brilliant. I think it's smart. When I say this game wears its inspirations on its chest, it 100% does, because guess what? A massive inspiration for this game is Chrono Trigger, and guess what? They have the protagonist fucking bite it.
Yeah. That's like Chrono Trigger, for me, the Act 1 demise of Gustav was like, oh, they were like, hey, Aerith's death is very impactful. What if it's the character you've been playing as the whole time?
Yep.
What if that's who we're going to make die here?
And honestly, this is also why I'm like, okay, so what, and this is my struggle. It's like, before that moment is poignant as hell about like, for those that come after, and he's not talking about for the kids back home. He's talking about Mael in that moment. He's doing this. And like, because the thought is that I'm like, I analyzed that scene after I played it, and I was like, well, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? And then I realized because Mael was trapped, and he was he's like, I will do whatever it takes to save Mael.
Yeah.
And in a way, he says everything he needs to say to Mael about how he feels about her, how much he loves her, all that, by saying that one line for those who come after, picking up his sword after his arms been blown apart, like. Awesome scene. Like, what an incredible scene. He knows he's probably going to die.
I also love the moment later in the game that you can get from Verso when Mael asks, like,
oh, dude, yeah, I was going to bring that up, actually. Did you let Gustav die?
Yeah.
And the way they do that is so fucking good.
Yeah, where it's like, yes, I could have saved him, brackets, truth. No,
I was too
lie.
late, brackets, lie. And I selected truth.
Yeah. Me too.
The shout out to Ben Starr for being such a phenomenal voice actor. But the grimace, the vocal grimace that Verso does in that moment of like that, like the vocal struggle, and then just yes,
yeah,
and it's
because it's like even if it hadn't had the brackets. I knew this guy's been following you, and it's something I pick up again more innately on a New Game Plus. But he's there when you first go into the manor. Like the camera pans back out and you see him like looking on as you head into the manor. Like you see him in silhouette. So the first time you're playing, you don't know that that's Verso. But yeah, that's absolutely who it is, kind of thing. So it's like he's been following you along. He knows where to, especially he's been following Mael. So he's he's around. He was absolutely there.
Well, you also find out Clair made sure that Verso was this facsimile of Verso was keeping Mael safe while she was there and growing up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and he says that too, that like yes, he snuck into Lumiere over time to see her. So yeah, like even if they hadn't given us the like truth or lie brackets, like that I knew what answer was the truth and what answer
absolutely.
Was the lie.
And when he says, because I didn't think that he would help us
do what needed to be done. Yeah.
In my head, I was like, that's bullshit. You told her the truth and now you're telling her a lie. You did it because, you see it. Because in my head, I was always like, why is his reaction to Mael's graveside, like eulogy to Gustav? Why is he hurt by that? And looking back on it after, when you look at her very difficult relationship with her father, Verso, all of that, when she tells Gustav, you were both my father and my brother, and I love you, and I'm going to miss you. That
it's the mourning that Verso has not gotten because they're living in this painting.
But it's also to Mael, to the real Alicia, this Gustav is everything Renoir and Verso weren't. He is the idealized version of how Mael wants as a parent / brother.
And that's why I do think of it as the truth, because I do think that Gustav would have sided with Mael and basically I think he would have leaned into, oh, that's what's going to happen if we kill the paintress, then we have to find another way. But what Verso wants is for them to
do it his way.
To get out of the painting. Like you need to help yourselves, and Gustav wouldn't have done that. Gustav as one of the creations in that world.
But it's more than that also. It's the fact that Verso as a facsimile, and I'm curious if the real Verso was also like this, is abhorrently selfish.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons why I think Verso character works so well. He's the cool guy, anime cutscene coming in, saving Mael in that moment on the cliff. All of that is like cool. And then you get to know him and you're like, oh, this guy is just really full of himself and is just obnoxiously selfish. And he is part of his character growth is over time.
That's the problem with the entire family is they're also
they're insanely selfish. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
These are bad gods in this painter world.
Oh, that's the thing too. It's like, oh, your gods are bad.
Yeah.
Because guess what?
Your gods are flawed just like we are.
Yeah.
It's very much.
And when Mael becomes Alicia and gets her full powers, she becomes the worst version of herself of like, well, I'll just bring everybody back. And it's like that's anyway.
Let's go fight Renoir. I've brought back all of these zombies because they still had their chroma in them. It's like, yeah, you use your power to bring a zombie army to life. That's weird. That's a weird thing.
That's a red flag right there, Mael. That's a red flag.
Exactly. Which again, so doing all of that, I know that I picked the bad ending.
Absolutely.
Of this game.
Absolutely. You're the baddies. Everybody's the baddies. But one of the things that Lune says when she's brought back and confronts Verso is she goes, if you had told us, we could have worked to try to find another way. And he goes, I know. And that to me is like the nail in it where I'm just like, Verso's a piece of shit. This is where I'm like, and I want to roll it back a bit. Gustav would have been, if he had found out, been like, well, what can we do to save the paintress? Like, what can we do to fix this? Because Gustav is an engineer.
Yeah.
He is a problem fixer. He's like, oh, what's the problem that we have is like, oh, we're getting killed by all these giant monsters. Well, what if we found a way to make Lumina work for us in a combative way to do that? And he creates the entire magic system that you have used. Like, he and Lune create the magic system that exists.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's crazy awesome.
I did love finding the Expedition 34 journal and the person there being like, maybe Gustav's plan will work, kind of thing.
Yep.
And just being like, yeah, it fucking did.
Yep, it did.
Because by the time you find that, you've definitely killed the paintress.
Yep.
So it's like, yep, good job, Gustav.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of that is like, okay, if you had Lune and Gustav, two of the brightest minds in Lumiere at this point, and they are told, hey, you actually are in a facsimile of the real world. The paintress is keeping Renoir from gommaging everybody at once. These people would have, instead of trying to take out the paintress and force her out, they would have tried to workshop and figure something out. And Verso, one, knows his mom doesn't have that much, the real Aline doesn't have that much time, and two, wants it to be over. And in his bum rush to basically suicide, he makes this decision for the rest of the world and takes away. And that's why Lune, when she looks at Verso and confronts him, there's like a barrier between where they can she can get to him. And she sits down just looking at him like, there was a different way to go about this, but you chose to go about it this way. And that to me spoke volumes.
In that, real quick, did you romance either Lune or
I romanced
CL?
Lune. I romanced Lune. You kidding me?
I romanced CL. So
that's interesting. As soon as I figured out there was a dead husband, I was like, I don't want that.
I was already committed.
And then you found out about the dead kid.
It was. For me, it was much more. We're both broken people.
Yeah.
So and I do appreciate that they basically refer to it like as let's be a little adventurous, and it's just like, a no strings attached kind of relationship.
Very much so.
But then it is it is fascinating. I'm curious how the Lune stuff plays out, because the end of that doesn't happen until after the end of Act 2, and so they come back.
It does.
And so Ciel is like, things have changed because now she can bring back Pierre, and you've been fun, but that's when Pierre's back in the picture, that's who I'm going to be with, kind of thing. And so it is this like interesting like, oh, okay, I guess I shot myself in the foot, doing that or whatever. And but they have, they decide to be like adventurous one more time or something. And basically he teaches her how to swim, and
that happens regardless of whether you romance her or not.
Yeah. It's I guess it's the after the swimming bit that they're like, let's be adventurous one more time before we go back or whatever.
Yeah. So that doesn't happen.
Yeah. What happens in the Lune?
Lune, it is, hey, let's,
because in mine there was a moment where it's like, Lune calls out the fact that I'm in a relationship with CL, and like, maybe if things had been different, and so it's like, okay.
Oh yeah, no. What happens is that your relationship, as you build it over time, music is at the center of it, because it turns out if she's not doing research, she's playing music. She plays guitar.
Yeah.
If you replay the prologue, you see she's performing for the gommage.
Yep.
With her guitar.
That's I appreciate in that scene. Sophie's like, I think you two would make a nice couple, or maybe you already have, and Gustav's silence speaks volumes.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So that was like not knowing that there was a romance element in the game, but not knowing that it was going to happen.
That's what I thought it was going to be. Lune.
Twist.
I thought Lune and Gustav was like an OTP.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a potential option there, and so when it
Lune saves him from committing suicide when he thinks everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it was fascinating kind of seeing that whole thing play out. But I mean the music is at the center of their dynamic in the platonic sense too.
Yeah. Basically she's like, hey, let's go run off and like write a song. And you guys do, but you also bone. And it's made very clear that you guys bone. And it's great. And Lune, at this point, Lune's accepted that she doesn't live in the real world, but you find out in her side conversation that she's talked to Maëlle about basically trying to do a reverse painting.
Yeah.
So that she can see the real world.
That's exactly, yeah. That Maëlle has promised Lune that she's going to do a painting of the real world in this fictional world that Lune can go into
and explore.
And like, it's like, man, if Christopher Nolan isn't the one that like directs this film, it's going to be like, what are you even doing?
Right. Exactly. But I think that's very much, but this is also a God capitulating for their like creation. in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to, I mean, like, I think one of the things I love about this game is the amount of times you see Mael, CL, and Lune like fighting together as a sisterhood, and
Yes.
it is like the three of them, and then like Gustav and Verso are kind of the interchangeable male lead kind of thing, and then Minoko is obviously just fucking weird Minoko, who's great, but like I love that so much of the story is them making the choices that they're making, good, bad, or ugly. And there was definitely a thing I noticed in the end game where prior to like the final decision kind of thing, Verso gets very quiet in the end. And like basically like after Mael kind of gets like revealed, or especially after because did you go and do the third Axon?
I did.
Aton?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where
you
Mael
basically-
and Alicia fight each other,
Yep.
and Alicia asks Mael to let her,
to go maj,
Gamage.
basically, yeah.
and Verso takes it really badly.
Yeah, like after that, Verso like shuts down, or at least, I mean, in terms of like gameplay, like there was no more story stuff, because that's all happening basically in that end game. Hey, you can go do these other things, or you can go straight to the end. And so I was fascinated by the fact that like Verso, after that point, or I mean after the point of Mael reawakening, really.
He takes the back seat.
Yeah,
entirely.
He's lost what he wanted out of this for the most part. So he's not really maybe it's a mix of the other characters don't trust him because of,
I think it's
of
part
how
of it.
things shake out. But yeah, it's fascinating that like it becomes much more of a Mael, CL, and Lune story and Verso's just kind of along for the ride as is Monoko.
Well, I think, and it's interesting because I spent most of my time running around the world as Mael after Act 1.
Did you finish everybody's arc?
I did.
Okay. Because I know, like, that's another thing that can happen post game, or like in late in the game. So I didn't know if you bothered to go do each of the little side questy things before going to the end.
Getting to, for CL, it's very cathartic of her finding out that SKA is the one that saved her.
Yeah.
That's also where she reveals to Verso, well, I was pregnant, and in my intention to kill myself, I killed my child. And it's like, that's fucking brutal, like dark as shit, man. Like this game gets dark as fuck sometimes.
Yep.
And yeah, it's like, it's a very brutal thing, but what it also pays off. I told you, I was like, I have a prediction. I think CL tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
And I thought Gustav was the one I think Gustav was there to help her recover from that. But it's clear SK is the one that saved her.
Yeah.
That's why I know you're bad at swimming. Yeah. That's what I was like, there must be a time thing, right? Because how else would SK know this? And it's like, no.
You mean the second time we met?
Right. What was the first time we met? You were swimming and you were not doing well, so I saved you.
Yeah.
And it's like, first off, shout out to SKA just being the homie.
Yeah.
Like
SKA, Monoko, like the gesturals.
Kid Verso knew what was up. Kid Verso knew what was important in life, which was good people, good friends, good homies. And also, I love the fact that Gestrels are just like, we're immortal, so let's just fucking fight forever.
Yeah.
Like Monoko, I love that Monoko 1 has a shape-shifting ability, which is awesome. But 2, I love that it's a weird thing about feet. I love that it's like, how do you make this interesting? It's like, you know how there's a whole subsection of people on the internet who are obsessed with feet? Let's make Monoko 1. But it's monsters' feet instead.
Yeah. That was weird. Your fascination of that is...
It's not fascination, it's my
weirder
enjoyment.
To me than the mechanic
It's not
itself.
that I'm fascinated by it. I enjoy this being a particular thing about his character.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's different. You don't normally let your character, like most RPGs don't let your characters be just weirdos.
Yeah.
Just be absolute weirdos.
I love that. I love the scene that keeps making the rounds. That is like Verso convincing Monoko to join.
It's the best.
Like, I'm never going to join you. There will be fighting. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, there will. Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, you in? Yeah, I'm all right. Let's go. Let's go. just like I watched that scene, came out and was like, Monoko is the best.
Yes.
Like I immediately was like, I am in. This character's great. Great writing. Great performance. The back and forth was just absolute fun between Ben Starr and the performer behind Monoko there. And that's, yeah, I mean, like, I touched on it a little bit, but, like, everybody I thought performance-wise is great. In the of course, I was playing with the English voice cast, so you're looking at, like, your Charlie Cox as Gustav, Jennifer English, best known to audiences as Shadowheart, being Mael was great and brought a lovely, like, humanity to that character, who ends up, being a god. Ben Starr, ton of fun as Verso. Andy Serkis, fun in the Renoir role.
Shout out also to if you get Lumiere outfit from Minoko, his the outfit from the Gestrel Casino. Man, does he look dapper.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, so the outfit I had him running around in until I got that outfit was the
Was it a swimsuit?
Was the bathing suit outfit? Yeah.
Okay. This is the other thing why this did not get it did not reach 9.5 out of 10 is because the fucking Gestrel beaches can burn in hell. Fuck that. Also, fuck some of the other, like, platforming bullshit in this game. Fuck it all to hell. God damn it. I tried so fucking hard after you and Yusuf were like, hey, we made it. Like, what an incredible thing we did.
You did go back.
I went back and I tried to do all of them again.
Because you had said, like, fuck that. Like, you haven't done the one where you're climbing yet, but fuck that one.
I did the one later where I was climbing, and I kept dying to it. I did it for an hour plus.
Yeah.
I did not spend less than an hour in any of the Gestrel beaches, and I never succeeded. They can burn in hell.
The first one, where you're like, the log bit is, like, the toughest part. First time I did that, it was like I succeeded on my, like, second attempt, I think. And then with the always up one or whatever, that one took, like, I think 2 or 3 attempts, but, like, on the second attempt it was like I fell, but I didn't fall all the way down, so it was just like I fell and then I had to, like, climb back up. Since there's, like, no time limit or anything like that, I just did that a couple times and then made it to the top, and I was like, immediately came and was like, fuck you. So I was rocking Minoko with the
Speedo that he wears,
the Speedo, and his Viking, like, hairstyle.
The Viking hairstyle, I think, is his best hairstyle.
And I had Verso with the samurai hairstyle for most of the game because I love that. I love that little scene between the two of them, and was like, yeah, this is fun. I do want this, like, this look. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Those are the only 2 I did. So if there are other Gestrel beaches out there,
there's more.
Did not stumble across them.
There's quite a few of them.
The open world stuff.
There's quite a few of them. I've been to all of them. I tried beating all of them. Never succeeded at one. So fuck them all to hell. If it was just that, if I remembered that, maybe my score would have been an 8.5. I don't know. Yeah.
Speaking of Minoko, though, I loved his story ending with the Noko side of things and bringing Noko back, and kind of the sadness the sadness of, like, we're like, we can reincarnate, but we're not always the same. Like, we don't.
There's something different about us each time.
Yeah, we're different. We lose those memories. Like, this Noko is not my Noko, kind of thing.
Because my Noko wasn't the previous Noko either. Because Noko's the one that raised Minoko.
Yeah.
That reveal of, like, oh, Noko used to actually be the adult, and Noko was the original best friend of Verso.
Yeah.
And kind of, like, what ended up happening with that. Also, shout out to SKA with his, like, little Expedition 33 armband wrapped around his head of being like, oh man, like, I think the best thing I ever heard was on the Kind of Funny Spoilercast, where they're like, it's the biggest snowbike Mike move in the world. I was like, man, I really wish I had one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, like 100%. 100% like that. That, like, God, I love Minoko. Shout out also to what's his name?
Francois.
The
turtle.
Francois.
Yeah.
He's a rock.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I'm a turtle.
Yeah, he misses when Cleo was around.
Yeah.
So I love that. I don't know. I didn't go down this rabbit hole, but apparently Clea is, like, one of the big bad optional side bosses in the game.
She is in charge of the Endless Tower, which is a, like, combat trial thing where you go through, and it's a great way to get, like, end game like, weapon level up stuff.
Sure.
Because each fight you do gives you, like, one of the extra rare items that let you level up items past level 20.
Yeah.
And yeah, she
those are quite abundant in New Game Plus. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. But yeah, no, her and the end fight that you fight in that one is Clea. The other one that's the super boss of this game is a guy named Simon, who's called the Light of Lumiere. He's a member of Expedition Zero, was painted like the facsimile verso that you play as in the game. In his false life inside the painting, he and Simon and Simone were best friends. And Simone only has one arm, and is ready and willing to whoop your ass. He has over 1 million HP, or he has, I think it's like 180 million HP.
I was gonna say 1 million's nothing.
Yeah, no.
in the broken Mael builds that people have.
Yeah, he is insanely powerful and can wipe out your team with one move.
Yeah.
So he is a true super boss.
The super boss I alluded to in the spoiler free stuff that I did was the flying serpent hair or whatever that one's called. I got into that battle, and whatever combo of things I had going on was like
sucks up your AP.
Keeping my, the combo of Pictos I had were keeping my characters alive, and enough of his attacks were parryable. But yeah, basically it was like I couldn't it was such a slow just death by 1,000 cuts to him because every turn he adds a whole bunch of shields and sucks up your AP. So it's you can barely ever get any kind of momentum going. And so it was always just kind of, all right, I'm going to whittle away. I'm going to use whatever little abilities I can. And then when we've got the gradient ability, Mael's going to use her 3-star gradient thing and just take out a chunk of take out 1/8 of the HP of this thing. And basically it was just that repeated. I burned through almost all of my revive tints in that fight. And it was just that was definitely a make or break point where I was it ended up being basically make and break, where I was if I lose this fight, I'm immediately doing what you had done, and I'm just going to go just straight to the end boss. I'm just going to fucking do that. I don't care about this anymore. I'm not going to try and grind up these characters or anything like that. And if I win, I don't know if I want to do that for all of the other super hard boss fights. Yeah. So I just I still kind of was all right, I went and did a couple of things. I found the Patunk that you can find in the overworld, and I fought them and defeated them. And then that was about it. There are a couple that I knew I could have still gone and done, and there were definitely some of those end game dungeons that I could have jumped into. But even with all of my characters in the 70s, when it was danger, I was oh, I'm still not strong enough for this. Oh, I don't want to go in there and do that. So I'm just gonna go fight the end game stuff.
I will also say, if they want to do a DLC, that would be really awesome. They framed the Expedition Zero as, a big part of it was reconnaissance and trying to search and rescue. If they wanted to do this as a cool DLC, I'm kind of transitioning over to this topic here of potential DLCs they could do. But a really cool one would be an Expedition Zero, where you play the facsimile Verso, Renoir, and even Clea, who was part of her painted version in this world, was also part of it after the. By the way, also shout out to the Fracture being when Urso, the real world Verso died. Mm-hmm. Brilliant touch point of why did this fracture happen? Because the real Verso died, and so the impact to this painting was it got fucked up. And then Aline and her wanting to preserve it went in, tried to fix it, got herself stuck in there by just being intoxicated by the illusion of the world. It's very tragic and very, very poignant. But yeah, it's fractured, and I would love to see an Expedition Zero DLC that is, you are facsimile Urso, maybe you have Simon, maybe you have Clea, maybe Renoir, because you don't have to worry about older people, Gommage and all that, because it's Expedition Zero. And so it is kind of what if this version of Renoir was looking for Aline?
There's just that also, by the time we take over, you're going on to your expedition if it's your last year of life. But Expedition 99 wasn't a whole bunch of 98-year-olds.
Nope.
It was back
because they originally started doing the countdown from the back and being they start with Expedition 01 and then eventually they jump to being later for it, right? So Expedition 0 and Expedition 1 and a couple of them are that, and then they go into the running backwards.
I think it's just 0. I don't think there is an Expedition 1.
Oh, maybe there's not. I don't know.
I think it
my thought was
the little quiz you can take in the prologue is what was the first expedition, and you've just found out that the fracture happened 67 years ago, so year 100, and your choice is 99 or your choices are 1, 100, 0, and it's I'm going to pick 0. And it's and it always annoys me that they weren't just Expedition 100. And I love that. Real quick, also in the prologue, just as another fun thing, did you find the life enjoyers in the prologue?
Yes, I did.
Did you get the bonus from the life enjoyers?
No, because I didn't stick around and was a pervert about it.
I didn't either. I didn't even find them the first time I played, but in my New Game Plus, I was like, I had seen that, and I was like,
the couple
all
that
right,
are
let's see
leaning
that.
on each other in Gomage, in my mind, in my headcanon, that's the couple that was boning.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think they ever left that room. I think they kept boning.
Good for them.
After you walked away, because yeah, that's a fun little thing. For those that are unaware, in the prologue, you can go up to like a door, and it'll be like. You'll hear like sex noises and moaning from behind the door, and it'll like the text will just be life enjoyers, and like Sophie will say something like, "Some people don't want to like some people want a more intimate farewell," or something like that, and you can like interact with the door and just hear different versions of the moan. And if you do it 33 times, in fitting with the theme,
Definitely not doing that.
they'll be like. So it was hot at first, but you're still out there and it's weird now. Here, please take this and go away. And they'll give you like a free Lumina point. So yeah, it was a fun little gag. So shout out to the developers for putting that silly thing in there.
I also say, so for a character who does not spend a whole lot of time in the game, Sophie sure is impactful. I love Sophie and Gustav. I love their relationship. I love that it is very much like their relationship is so full of what could have beens.
Yeah.
I appreciate, also, I have so much respect for Sophie's character because she chose that she didn't want to have children.
Yep.
And clearly that was the breaking point with Gustav, is Gustav wanted kids.
Yep.
But what I loved about it is at the very end, Gustav let her know, hey, just because I didn't have children because we didn't stay together and you didn't want them, doesn't mean I didn't find a way to have legacy. When he talks about it, she goes, your students love you. And he goes, well, students are, not everybody chooses to have children. And in a way, these students are also my legacy. And I love that as him being like, I still got my legacy no matter what.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that he says, and they're yours too.
And they're yours too, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that, hey, we didn't have to be parents by being teachers. We were also that. And in my mind, I'm like, I like that he's come to that realization now. But definitely it was probably a bigger issue. That's why they broke up like 4 years before the start of the game.
Yeah. In the
they have like the strongest will they won't they, and then she dies, and then I'm like, all right, Lune, I am still grieving deeply here, but you are extremely hot and like
and you're playing guitar.
And
you can fly. That's
and you can
neat.
fly and you do all the magic stuff.
And Cameron, as has established, is totally into the foot fetish side of things.
I'm
and
not.
She runs around barefoot. So
I'm not actually. It's not a thing about me. I like that about Munoko.
I am absolutely joking.
I know.
I
I don't want to put out there that Cameron's a foot guy because I'm
Yeah.
not. Feet are gross. I wear socks almost exclusively all the time.
Yeah, same. Did you, in the finale, when you go back to Lumiere, did you go back to where you picked up the rose at the beginning of the game?
Yes.
Yeah, and you find, I don't know if it was a journal or if it's a picto there, but something's there.
It's a picto.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's fun. They knew we were going to do that. I appreciate it.
I went back there right away. I was like, is that the same one? I was like, it is.
Yep. Oh, I recognize these rooftops. Let me backtrack back that way.
As soon as I did that, I was just like, man. Also, when you are running through, I believe it's the Paintress's level, and you get to the clearing where Gustav's body, you buried it.
Mm.
And you see his arm, but you also see like a face mask there, like a death mask for Gustav. And I'm like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Mad respect. But yeah, it's fucked up. Also, shout out to the Axons.
Real quick, just on the monolith. I mentioned this to you when we were playing it, or when I had finished it. That was like the one area where I was like, this dungeon was too big and too repetitive. And it was the first time I was like, all right, the game's wearing a little bit thin on me.
Here's the thing. If that had actually been the true, they were clearly going for the fake out, like, oh, this is the final level. If they had,
see, I didn't think they were, because I knew I was still in Act 2. And I don't think you'd maybe said that there was like an Act 3, but like,
I said that because
there are
I thought
very
there
few
was.
things that are there, and there is an Act 3.
Yeah.
Because it is like you have the little like the Mael epilogue, but then it does come into Act 3.
Yes.
Mael. Yeah. It's because it's Act 1, Gustav, Act 2, Verso, Act 3, Mael.
Yeah.
But yeah, it for me, it was like, okay, I know I'm in Act 2. Story structure wise, a 2-act thing is not common. So I'm guessing there's still a third act after the painter stuff here. What's going to be the real big bad after the painter's stuff? Or, are we going to be stopped at the, we're going to make it through the monolith, but then something's going to, throw us back and we're still going to have to come back and fight the painters. Whatever the case may be, I was like, I know the game's not going to end after this fight. I wasn't expecting it to, and this was another one of those act break things. Like Act 1 ends, Gustav dies. Great. I love the lamplighter fight too.
Lamplighter fight is fantastic. I mean, love it.
The game has a lot of great boss fights. And then, Act 2, so Act 1 ends with the dramatic Gustav dying, and Verso kind of coming in and taking his place in your party stuff. Act 2 ending with, we beat the paintress, and here's what that really means. And this brief moment of like celebration, and we did it. Expedition 33, has made it back to Lumiere, and then the other shoe drops, and like the wave of Gommage energy comes out and decimates everybody. I was like, oh, okay, where the hell are we going from here now? And then to go into like the real world with Alicia or whatever, and kind of get that glimpse of, oh, everything we've been playing is this fiction. That's really cool. Now, what are we going to do with that? What's like, so we're going to go back in there. Mael has awakened to these powers. And so, I loved, I fully can appreciate where that's going to lose some people, but I really liked it.
I think for me, I didn't like I mentioned earlier, I don't like it, but I think it was done extremely well.
Yeah.
I think they landed...
It's a big-ass, bold-ass swing.
It's a massive swing. They absolutely connect on it. I just don't like it. And that's kind of like where I'm at with the game right now. It's like, I think the game is truly fantastic. I think it's, I don't think it's a masterpiece only because I think it's their freshman effort. I think their next game is, like I mentioned when I finished the game, I can't wait for what their next game is going to be. Whatever they choose to do going forward, I'm a Sandfall Interactive fan. I can't wait to see what they do next. Because if this is what you do with your first outlet, like out of the gate with this, if this is something that you put together and you found this team and you guys created this incredible project and worked on it over the last 4 years, fantastic. What an amazing opportunity. And I can't wait to see what they do next. Like, really, that's where I'm at this point is this is a 9 for me. I have no doubt the next one for me is going to be a 10. Like what they've already learned, what they're going to learn forward. The new era, and I think this is a great, like, it depends on how the industry goes going forward. Who knows what could happen with everything else going on in the real world. But for this to kind of be the new era of a AA project, where you do have a small team that is an independent team, but they have collaborators and partners and contractors that they work with. The people who rigged the animations for battles are a team is a company in Korea. Like a 7-person company in Korea that just did it. And I think you look at and I really recommend that people, when they go through it and they watch the credits, stay for the second run of credits, because that one is totally worth it to see everybody who worked on this game over the course of the last 4 years, who put their time and effort, and whether it was a little bit or a lot of what they contributed to this game. I just think it's truly fantastic. And you get to see the worldwide reach that they worked on. Like, I think Sandfall Interactive, as somebody who has been a project manager, the project management for this game is insane.
Sure.
Purely
project management for any game is
insane. But for you to be
I gave it absolute shit, but go look at the credits of Star Wars Outlaws. A whole bunch of hands made that thing happen. Too many, arguably but
too many.
That also means like a ton of project managers helping kind of guide it and communicate across the world with teams in, a ton of different countries and stuff like that. Yeah.
But to do that with contractors, to do that with people who probably for the first time, like I can imagine for a lot of them, it's like, oh yeah, this was our first project we ever worked on was Expedition 33. Like that's going to be a feather in their cap for being like, hey, this great game that people have called a masterpiece. 8s to 10s out of 10s up there. 4 out of 5s or 5 out of 5s that you have going on with that, for them to basically be like, hey, we had a hand in this. It says a lot about what AA development can look like going forward, because it's been shown AAA studios creating a AA game isn't feasible on the back end. like they just don't recoup the money on it. And if you're a big AAA studio, well, we should just be investing in AAA games then. And then you see the hit and miss that those are. The kind of the situation. I don't know if you watched it yet, but Alana Pierce has a phenomenal video about her investigative dive into the kind of financial back end of how games are being like running right now, and how we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and as somebody who actually did go to business school, like that's nothing she introduces in that is particularly new and groundbreaking to me. It very much was like, investors suck, and they're not seeing return on investment, or they're not seeing games as the biggest possible return on investment, so they've moved their money elsewhere.
Yep.
And so that sucks, which is why capitalism sucks and all that stuff.
Yep.
Anyway,
but I think this is the solution to that. If you are a developer and you're like, hey, we're an indie studio, we want to take a big swing. Let's see what we can do. Also, it should be noted
they absolutely benefit from, like, France providing much more support. You know, a lot of countries will provide much more financial support on projects like on artistic projects like these than ours does. So it's going to be a struggle.
Not just that, also the financial backing that Sandfall Interactive may or may not have had, because their founder and their head of person may be connected to some bigger financial things. We don't know. It's not been fully confirmed yet. But that says a lot about somebody investing personally into a project and making it work. A lot of times we see somebody like Kurt Schilling invest a bunch of money into Amalur and it blowing up in his face, and then he becomes a right-wing grifting douchebag.
Sure.
So,
back on the game, you started to bring up Axons, and then I took us down a different path. Axons.
Kick-ass fights. Fucking love them.
Yeah, absolutely a ton of fun.
The fact that they're each of the 3 children.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Love that reveal, that discovery.
And it's interesting because it's how Renoir sees his children.
Mm-hmm.
For him to look at Verso as this...
A character of lies?
A character of different faces for different things. And it's like... Renoir, and this is the great tragedy of Renoir and Verso's relationship, is... When Verso chose music, Renoir clearly did not know how to deal with that, and it's evidence in how he saw Verso as a mask, as a caricature, and not as an actual person. The other 2 axons are fully incorporated and are fully built out. It's only Verso's that's not, and it's like, man, this speaks volumes, because one thing Maëlle says later, she goes, well, Father and Verso had their inside jokes, and they would just always get along. And it's like, that's so clearly from her perspective of how that relationship was. But if you look at Verso, the facsimile Verso, and how he describes their relationship, and then also when he looks at the mask at the end and says, this is Verso, isn't it? That to me, I was like, wait, what do you mean that's Verso? Your Verso, what's going on here with this? And for him to be like, that's how Renoir, the conductor, the conservator, what's his, custodian, that's it, custodian, how the true Renoir saw Verso.
Oh, the curator.
Curator, thank you. The way he looks at it, and it's like, as somebody who's had a very complicated history with my father, that says something about like where their relationship ended and why it's a tragedy that Verso died, because Renoir never fully understood his son. Was he was unable for whatever reason from actualizing who Verso was as a person, and goddamn, that's painful. That's dark, and it's painful, and it's, when Verso says to Lune in their conversation, he goes, well, when I chose to do music instead, it really ruptured, it really made the relationship with my parents very difficult. And being like, God damn, yeah. And it's like, why is Aline so lost in this last piece of Verso? She's skilled enough that she knows she could just do what she needs to do and then leave, but she doesn't. She gets lost in it. It's like, these parents thought they had forever to did they ever really reconcile with Verso? Did they ever really accept his choices in life to be a musician rather than a painter? To be outside of the painter-writer war, conflict? It's it says so much about that, and it's so brutal. And so, like, the French, they're so great at this of making something beautiful that's also very painful and hurtful and introspective. This is why French art is great. I will say this is a French-ass video game. We mentioned up at the top, but man, what a fucking phenomenal video game. What true to the French form of art.
You get to fight a bunch of mimes.
Excellent fights too.
Yeah.
I love the mime fights. I love all the fighting in this game. It's fantastic.
I will say the mimes, I was disappointed that they don't really evolve.
No.
It's the same, like they have basically their two attacks. They're like hand-to-hand combat attack, and then their like strange attack. That's basically them using like the mime hammer thing.
Yep.
And it's like those are the same attacks they use in Lumiere, and that's the same attacks they use throughout the rest of the game.
Some of them have a few other additional mechanics to them, but
I don't think they did.
there's one that maybe you didn't fight them. There's one that has like like orbs that pop up around them that you have to shoot.
I remember that with the Petanques, but I don't remember that.
Maybe
with
I'm confusing with the Batonk. My bad. I could be.
the Petanques switched up their gameplay stuff a little bit.
I might have been mixing it up with the Batonk.
Some will be like,
My
oh, this
apologies.
one's like, they're all like, they're going to flee, but like some of them are like, this one gets shields, and then like others are like, you have to parry this one. That's the only thing that's going to do damage.
Also, shout out to them taking Petite and Tank and throwing it together to Petanque.
Sure.
So great. Naming convention in this game are fucking awesome. They're great at it. There's puns. There's all sorts of fun stuff in this game.
Did you fight the optional boss that is just like the rock thing that will just slam down on you over and over again?
You have to counter it over and over and over again until it finally just chooses to die instead.
Yeah, it just explodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was feeling pretty good about that one because I'm like, all right, I'm like wild that it goes from like slams down 3 times and then 4 times and then 5. It just feel like every time it attacks is just doing more and more slams, and you just gotta keep it up. But I was like, all right, but I'm doing good enough at it, and I'm getting those counter attacks in. I'm feeling like I'm whittling, and then for it to just like self-destruct at the end, I was like, well, god damn it. Like, what an unsatisfying. I mean, like, good that I parried it that many times, I guess, but like, wild. That was just, I think, the goofiest one for me, just of how absurdly long the sequences were getting. But yeah, I love that, and that's one, like, I've seen that one kind of going viral a little bit too, in terms of like people's reactions to that, just being like, oh my god, what the hell is this thing doing?
Yep.
And then finally getting that moment of like where it just explodes and just being like, I guess I won. But yeah. Yeah, just so many fun little creative things. And I think those were elements that I absolutely loved in terms of the combat, where it was, okay, yeah, this isn't going to be an enemy that you can defeat just by, health sponging it. Like the things where it was, oh, here's the flower enemy, and it's going to sprout flowers, and it's going to, if you don't shoot the flowers, it's going to absorb those in the form of like a strength buff and shields and stuff like that. Or getting those abilities where it's like, okay, this enemy is clearly reliant on shields, so let me equip some piercing abilities that I can just kind of like plow through the shields and not have to worry about dismantling the shields in order to get damage. I can just, go ahead and throw your 9 shields on. Minoko has an ability where it does proportional damage to the amount of shields on them, and it pierces through those shields. And so that was like a great there's a lot of fun strategy bits in the approaches to combat and stuff like that. And so I appreciate that the game does give you like those opportunities, even if I didn't ever do it with CL. But yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to the "This is fine" meme being in the game.
Yes.
Absolutely love that. I mean, again, the Gastral stuff was just a ton of fun, and just their silly goofiness. And Esquier, absolutely a blast as a character. You already touched on Francois. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, shout out to this whole fun Clair Obscur Expedition 33 game. All right, well, that is going to wrap up this episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk all about our Clair Obscur thoughts. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
I want to give a massive shout out to our most recent That T Plus show where we did Across the Spider-Verse. It was a lot of fun bringing Logan in to talk about that game. Or sorry, not that game, that movie. And kind of revisiting it. So
revisiting it, doing our going back to our Spider-Man rankings from when we did Spider-Man stuff a couple years ago. Yeah, lots of fun on that one. Absolutely. You follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. I will echo that shout out to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Never really need an excuse to talk about those movies. So I'm just glad Disney Plus gave me one. But then this upcoming That D Plus show is going to be our full season wrap up of Andor after the last few episodes drop this week. Just given we already gushed extensively on the first half of the season 2 weeks ago. So the fact that Cameron and I absolutely adored this last weekend's run of shows. I have high hopes for the final little trilogy of episodes and the finale of this season. So shout out to that on our That D Plus show. You'll follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you like what you heard, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you again for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.